Yo guys! It's your friend here, bringing you another awesome Naruto What If tale. And I am back with a part 7 of What If Naruto got a herm in the DC universe. Now before we start, let's do a summary first. Transported to a world full of heroes, Naruto teams up with the greatest to stop an invasion. Set on the 2001 to 2004 and 2004 to 2006 shows Justice League in Justice League Unlimited. Naruto X Haram story name is Ninja on the League. Disclaim Lone Wolf 1 is the author of this series. 1 just made the audio adaptation of it, and yeah, I have the permission of the author. Remember to like, subscribe after this video and make sure to share it with your friends. Now let's music begin. Chapter 33 Son of Batman. Last time, that's not a lie, that will always be there. She'll always be one of us no matter what judgments you make. Later Shira walked in as the other stood in front of her. Before you say anything, Shira started. Before anyone could talk, I came to this planet as a patriot. I had a mission and I carried it out, but I couldn't see how much I would come to care for Earth, her people, and each of you. I've spent the last 5 years torn between my feelings and my duty. I won't ask you to do the same. That's why I'm resigning as a member of the League. She finished walking out after Flash hugged her. Naruto disappeared as the others were talking about the fate of the League outside. Naruto saw Shira look at the sunset and ocean. Where are you going now? She sighed before answering, I don't know, some air where the fate of the world isn't on my shoulders. No more secrets or lies. Naruto looked at the ocean before speaking. Was everything a lie? No, Naruto, I never lied about loving you, she replied, walking to him and kissed him. When she pulled back, Naruto pulled her in for another kiss before she flew away. Why, I love you too, Naruto said before hearing Enko behind him. We should go back home, see if Tsunade can fix your arm. If not, she's been working on her grandfather's cells. After Mu was able to help Obito survive losing the entire left side of his body, Naruto walked to her and kissed her before wrapping his arm around her waist and walked back inside. Now Konoha Hospital operating room. Early morning. Damn it, Gaki brat, quit squirming, Tsunade said as she put her hands on his now fixed arm with a scar around where his cut was. Her hands glowed green as Naruto deadpanned at her. You'd squirm too if the son working on your severed arm can barely see. Her eyebrow twitched at that before speaking. Good thing grandfather's cells worked on the attachment. You'll just have this scar from here on. Outside, Naruto's girls including Mei sat in the waiting room before hearing Naruto shout, come on, ban grandma. I know you're slow in your old age, but you see a clay. They winced as they heard something hit metal. Itty, ouch, what the hell, ban grandmother, I'm an injured person, Naruto yelled as the door opened showing Tsunade and Naruto with his reattached arm in a sling. Well, next time you'll watch what you say to a person that's working on saving a limb or your life. Now don't strain your arm for a few days and you'll be out of that sling, but for it to be fully healed, leave it for a week at least. Tsunade finished walking down the hall. Later, Naruto's house. Naruto walked in his room wearing only pajama pants. ND up to his bed before he pulled the covers off. His girls walked in wearing only robes. Girls, Tsunade said, I'm not to do anything that'll put stress on my arm, Naruto said as Diana approaches him. Given that you lost an arm saving every living thing on Earth, I think that entitles you to a long relaxing night. Besides, she said not to put your arm under any stress. She drops her robe, the other ladies following suit, but your arm doesn't need to get involved, Kara said as she pushes Naruto onto the bed and starts removing his pants. Just lie back and enjoy. Hero, our hero. A few weeks later, Gotham Clock Tower. Our dusk cage dropped onto the large clock tower and opened a small door. He dropped down inside and saw a living quarters with several Murphy beds by the wall. He walked to a bookcase and pulled a book back. Suddenly everything lowered into the floor as the clock's face was covered in metal. A hollow key board came up with several screens around it. I don't come into your house and tell you how to run your office. Naruto looked back to see Darcy walking to him. Sorry, didn't think you'd be here yet. Deadshot was last sighted here in Gotham. Heard anything about that? She shook her head before waking to the board. No, but I heard Nightwing say he saw Deadshot just outside of Bloodhaven. Okay, keep me posted, Naruto said before jumping out of the ceiling and came out on the roof. He looked out at the city from the rooftop before hearing a ring from his earpiece. An information box came up on his glasses with Barbara G. in it pressing the button on his glasses. A small picture of Barbara came up beside a voice box. Hey honey, I thought you'd be studying. I just heard from Tim that you'd be in town today. Naruto nodded as he looked down at the streets. Yeah, I heard Dick's in town as well, he asked before hurrying Barbara's voice again. Yeah, he's looking into a lead for a crime in Bloodhaven. Sony is in Gotham also to help him out. You know they're dating, right? Yeah, I found out when we went on patrol last week. I guess my sexiness was too much for her to handle. He heard her sigh at that. Yeah, so you coming to my house tonight? He nodded before answering. Yeah, I just got a hold of B-Woman earlier. She and I are going after Deadshot. He shot a politician the other night and Darcy found out he's in Gotham. I'll talk to you later, beautiful. Maybe we can double date with Dick and Sonia after hanging her up. He heard Batwoman on his earpiece. Hey partner, I just found another victim. I tracked the trajectory about a half a mile away, sending you the coordinates now. Naruto nodded before diving off the roof and slid down the wall. He jumped off and landed on another roof before jumping to where Batwoman is. After a few minutes he dropped down in a generator surrounded by a chain-linked fence. Looking around he saw Batwoman walk out of the shadows from the gate. I found his casing but I don't have the same scanner you do. Naruto pressed the button and scanned the bullet casing in her hand. He put a hand to his ear and spoke. Oracle, take a look at the image we just uploaded to the computer. After a moment Darcy replied, is this? Naruto interrupted her. Yeah, it's Deadshot. Check the police scanner for any more. Later, after patrolling the city, bomb turned to Nar. Why would Deadshot go after politicians? Naruto shrugged before crossing his arms. Money, I guess. Suddenly Darcy spoke up on their earpieces. The computer just picked up a shot fired from a weapon using the same rounds as before, sending you the coordinates now. Got it, let's move. Cage, that woman shot her grappling gun up to a roof edge, shot herself up in the air and land on her glider as Naruto jumped across the roofs. A few minutes later they landed on a small bridge and saw a man laying face down with a bullet wound in his chest. Naruto looked to see a hole in the barricade before scanning it. Deadshot struck again, Naruto said through his earpiece before hearing Darcy, I'll check to see if there's a connection to the victims. An orange line going from the hole through a water tower and up to a roof a mile away came up on his glasses. I've got his trajectory, let's go. They went up to the roof and saw a tripod. He's getting cocky, Naruto said before scanning it. He left a clue, rust-like metal compound on the tripod. Wherever he's keeping it must be made of it. Oracle, scan the city and look for anything with this compound. It has traces of lead used in paint for a short time 20 years ago. After a moment Darcy replied, Roger, it'll take a while though. After looking around the city Darcy spoke up, found another shot from Deadshot. Sniper, I marked it for you. He nodded before they jumped and flew to the spot. When they got there they saw a group of people with weapons looking at a person with a bullet wound in his chest. Oh good, some action, Nar said, dropping down and kicked one in the stomach, having him go through a store window. One man grabbed Naruto from behind and Naruto quickly elbowed him several times with both of his arms before grabbing his head and dropped down to his knees before throwing him in the air. Batwoman jumped over the man, grabbed his neck and flipped him down face first onto the pavement. She punched another man before sweep kicking him and knocked him out. She jumped at the last and dropped kicked him over to Naruto, who clotheslined him before hitting him while he was in the air, knocking him out. They walked over towards the victim and Liu Ked surprised. It looks like he was hiding behind the car. How did Deadshot do it? Bowman asked as Naruto saw a hole in the pavement and scanned it. I think I found the link that connects Deadshot's victims, they heard Darcy say through their earpieces. Good, he's killed again, we need to stop him, Naruto said. Before Darcy continued, the first two worked for the same person. The first was a specialist in wireless broadcast and the second was contracted for military projects specializing in weapons delivery systems. Naruto nodded before speaking. Deadshot must be cleaning up any loose ends for him. Good work, Darcy. They followed the line which ricocheted off a wall and up to a roof. They dropped down and saw Naruto reach down on an air vent. This vent is warm, he must have made the shot here while lying down, Naruto said before Darcy spoke up. I found where that compound is, still on a locker. It looks like a FTER a moment an image of a small locker on a roof came up 5 miles away. Let's go, Bowman said, flying off with Naruto following after her. When they got to the roof, Naruto walked to a locker and ripped the door off, showing several rifles and a PDA. Picking it up, he broke it and picked up a card before putting it in a thin black hollow computer strapped to his left arm. Picture Hawkeyes from the movies. A hollow screen popped up above his arm and he saw a list of people come up with Snapper car, Bruce Wayne, Batman and himself on it, __. He's working on a schedule and Snapper's next in 3 minutes. They are ushed to the other side of the city. As they got to Snapper, they saw him reporting on a story before pushing him down. Just as a shot went off, Naruto looked up to see Deadshot jump to another roof before running up with Batwoman following. They jumped up on opposite side and saw Deadshot standing on 2 of a grade before hiding behind cover. Naruto ran to another cover, getting Deadshot to focus on him. As Batwoman ran under the grates, she jumped out and uppercuts him in the air as Naruto tackled him to the roof and knocked him out. Well, now good job, partner, Naruto said, picking Deadshot up and jumped down to the ground. Mountains. Nanda Pierrot, a man in green gold trimmed armor with a cat on his waist, watched as a group of masked men and women sparring against each other. He looked to his left and saw a young boy with short black hair, green eyes and wearing smaller version armor as his, and a woman with long brown hair and wearing a full bodysuit unzipped, showing the little cleavage, boots and a combat belt. Here is your legacy, Damien, here is your inheritance, the League of Assassins, the man said as the boy stepped forward. Yes, grandfather, Damien replied before the man continued. They will be yours. Command one day to make sure the earth abides a natural contentment free of mankind's abuse. An old man with long white hair, mustache and a white version of the armor stopped by the woman. It's good to see our father so devoted to his grandson. Talia nodded before smiling. Yes, it is brother Sud. Enli. She heard a thud and looked to see her brother fall face first with blood covering his white cape. Rose looked to see someone staring out of a hole in the paper door. We've been breached. Take the boy, he yelled, pulling his sword out as the doors fell, showing masked men with guns and swords on their backs. Talia took Damien and slid down the tiled roof. Suddenly attack helicopters came up in front of the temple and started firing into the crowd. Talia moved Damon to hide behind a support before running into the crowd and took a bow. She shot at a helicopter and hit the pilot, forcing the chopper to crash. Talia dropped the bow, kicked one of the attacking men and stole a gun to shoot another copter down. She jumped up to a roof of men, took a shotgun and shot several men. As she ran to a tower, she took a hand-cranked minigun and started shooting the attackers inside. Rose, I'll go. Rose moved quietly Pierrot the hall, only to stop as 3 armed men dropped down behind him. He quickly turned around and killed them before seeing a larger group of men in front of him. He jumped into a room, deflecting the bullets with his sword before killing the men. Hold your fire. Rose looked to see Slade with a black and orange mask pulled up, showing his gray hair and beard. Confused old man, Slade asked, walking over. Slade, what's the meaning of this outrage? Slade smiled before explaining, a hostile takeover, years in the making. Rose glared before speaking, your arrogance amazing me and shames you. Slade chuckled before speaking, you still have a spring in your step, let's see how you do against a real swordsman. Slade pulled 2 katanas with handguard from his back and dashed at Rose. Rose blocked the attack before Slade spoke up, how could you push me aside? I was your right hand. Rose glared before pushing him away, your action spoke for you. The men left as Rose threw several slashes at Slade, who jumped back and ran down the hall with Rose following after. Boom, only for a ball of fire to engulf Rose, causing him to scream out in pain. As Slade jumped outside, Rose ran out and fell several stories to the ground. Slade dropped down and saw Rose was still alive. You've been alive for far too long, old man. The Lazarus pit won't save you this time, Slade said, picking up his sword only for Damon to kick him away, and picked up Ra's sword. Damon blocked an attack before being kicked into a wooden support and broke it. So your T is L. It'll bastard, you're good for a boy, Slade said before running to Damon, who rolled out of the way before slicing another support, having the hall above them fall on Slade. As Slade came out, Damon stabbed him in his right eye. Slade screamed. Slade dropped several smoke bombs and escaped in a helicopter. I'll make you pay for this, boy Slade yelled as he fled. Damon saw tall muscular man with several scars over his body and frowned. Yubu. He ran outside and yelled up, oh, the fleeing men come back and fight traitors. Grandfather Talia ran after Damon and followed him to a hidden stairway with a green glow. She ran down where she saw her dead father inches from a pool with green glowing water. We need to get him in, Damien yelled, picking Rose up and started walking to the pool. Damien, wait, he's dead and the pit can't bring back a dead body, Talia said, walking to Damon. We need to go, she said, pulling Damon with her. Where are we going? Damien asked before Talia narrowed her eyes. Gotham City, it's time to meet your father. A week later, Gotham City warehouse. Batman and Cage dropped down to see a large human gator hybrid stealing bottles of drugs. Willin Jones aka Killer Croc stealing drugs isn't Yoro, Batman said as Killer COC turned around and snarled at them. Naruto snorted, I swear you have the weirdest villains, Batman, and more than half are animal themed. When half the biotech labs get hit, I get curious. That man said. His Croc picked up his duffel bag. You've been working out. He stopped as they jumped back. K from a swipe of his tail. The tail is new. Croc smiled before speaking. Yeah, I got an upgrade. He wrapped his tail around a large tank and threw it at them. Batman jumped out of the way as Naruto kicked it out of a window. They ran in the shadows as Croc ran after them. Batman dropped down on Croc and Pooh nched him several times before Croc grabbed him with his tail and threw him in the ceiling. Croc threw him out of the window before seeing Naruto with the Renin spiraling sphere. They went through the floor and fell through two more before hitting the ground floor. Damn, that hurt, Naruto said, getting up and saw an unconscious Croc. He turned around to see Talia standing in front of him as Batman ran in. Hello my love, she said to Batman as Naruto looked on in shock. Later, yacht Gotham Harbor. Naruto was lying down on a couch as Talia, now wearing a red dress wrapped around her neck and a slit on her legs, poured a drink at the bar. What a drink, she asked as Batman stared. Last time that didn't go so well. Naruto raised an eyebrow at that. Been there, mind if I get one as well, Naruto said as Talia gave him the go-ahead to use the bar. Batman and Talia soon talked for a while before Leah explained about the League being attacked by Slade and the death of her father. She walked to a curtain towards the end of the one room, drawing both of the heroes' attention. I would like you to meet your son once. Pulling back the curtain on revealing Damien, Naruto ended up on a coughing fit with I am taking his drink. Holy, Naruto trailed off seeing Damien, who walked to Batman. Hello father, I thought you'd be taller. Naruto sat up and stared at Damien. Well, aren't you a surprise? Later, Talia left as Batman and Damien stared at the yacht. Naruto got on his bike as Batman walked to the Batmobile. All drive, Damon said as Batman just stared at him. No, Gotham Laboratory warehouse. A man with gray out brown hair wearing a white buttoned shirt, brown tie and pants was working chemicals before dropping two in a test tube and it turned blue. Mom says dinner's ready. He turned to see a girl with pink hair on her right side, her left side shaved and green eyes. She'd been wearing a leather jacket and a dress that's black on top, a pink skirt and knee-high boots. Rebecca, sorry, I'm just close to a breakthrough. Rebecca raised an eyebrow at that. You're always close to a breakthrough, she said, running a hand through her hair. Rebecca, honey, I'm sorry, but I'm doing it for us. She walked and looked to the beakers. How is turning something blue for us? She left, forcing him to rub his eyes. Maybe I could use a break. Rebecca, hold on, I'm coming. He walked out the door, showing a circular hall and up to the door in front of him. Suddenly he was hit in the head and blacked out, seeing masked men. When he woke up, he saw a masked woman. Put his glasses on. He looked to see he was in his kitchen with Rebecca tied up and Yubu holding a woman with short blonde hair wearing a red blouse skirt with a pink undershirt. Kirkur Say, people, please tell me you haven. The woman was interrupted by Kirk. No, before he could say anything else, a man in a cloak walked in and looked to them. Your family will be all right for now, the man said as Kirk saw a flash of his face revealing Slade. Nice meal, vegan. They say eating meat can make a person savage. Rebecca looked at Kirk with a scared look. I didn't know, Daddy. Slade walked to the woman and grabbed her face. True, we arrived in her absence. Kirk looked to Rebecca and his wife Rebecca. Francine, it's all right, everything's going to be alright. Kirk stopped as Slade threw the food off the BLE and reached over to grab him. You sound so certain. Kirk narrowed his eyes at him. Why are you here? I'm proceeding according to plan. Ah, you seem to think I'm part of the old agreement, Slade said, walking to Rebecca. I am not. To make things perfectly clear, I'll be arranging separate accommodations for your family. Slade trailed off, squeezing Rebecca's neck. Please don't hurt them, Kirk said as Slade let his daughter go. Of course not. Slade picked up a throwing star and threw it in the table. Unless you disappoint me, and you don't want to disappoint me. Kirk looked to Slade before speaking. Who are you? Slade looked back to him before answering. Let me put it this way, Dr. Ross Al Ghul has retired for good. I am his successor. I'm Slade Wilson. Slade removed his hood, showing his mask up and an eye patch over his right eye. But you will call me Deathstroke. Deathstroke finished, pulling his mask over his face. Batcave. 30 minutes earlier, Naruto followed behind the Batmobile and stopped as they entered the parking area in front of the computer as Alfred waited. Welcome home, sir. I assume this is the young man staying with us, he asked as Damon jumped out from the passenger seat. Hello, Pennyworth. Damian Gray. ETED as Alfred nodded his head. Where are the rest of the servants? Alfred raised an eyebrow at that. I'm the sum total. Damian looked to Batman. You only have one servant. Batman just stared down at him. Alfred's not a servant, he's a friend. Damon looked around the cave before sitting in the chair at the sea. Computer. So this is the fabled Bucket Cave. Grandfathers told me all about it. Smaller than I thought. Very efficient though. He folded his hands in front of his face as the others walked to him. Damon walked over to Batman's costume display and stopped at a taller Robin costume. Very feminine, isn't it, Alf? Red spoke up as Naruto walked to the computer and leaned against it. Master Dick wore that when he was a boy. Where is he now? Damien asked as Alfred directed him to the stairs. Hunes moved on Naruto's side before speaking. Hunes going down a dark path. Bruce, he reminds me of a friend who's had a similar background, except his entire family died by his brother who did it to save the village from a takeover. Batman removed his mask as Naruto pulled his hood down. Bruce brought up a tape of Rose being healed from the lasers pit. A few moments later, Alfred walked down with a tray of tea. I have been really bed by Master Damien. I do miss him so, Alfred said before seeing the video. Nothing good on tonight, sir. Old footage of Rose being revived from the pit. He's cheated death so many times it's hard to believe he's gone. My son's role model, Bruce said before turning the footage off. Barbara's apartment. Early morning. Naruto groaned awake as light hit his eyes. He blinked a couple of times before smiling as he looked to see red hair on his chest before quietly removing himself to take a shower. When he got out, he put on a black elbow sleeve over his right elbow to cover his scar in his business suit before kissing the sleeping Barbara and left. Once leaving a note of where he will be going, he called a taxi and left towards Wayne Enterprise. Later, Naruto walked out an elevator with Bruce, who had a group of people surrounding him asking him multiple questions. Naruto opened the door to his office and saw Amian wearing a black long-sleeved shirt and cargo pants sitting at the desk. Profits are down in Argentina. Someone skimming the revenues. That's my department, the only woman said before turning to Bruce. Bruce, who is this? Bruce quickly shut the door, pushing them out before turning to his son. What are you doing? Damon looked to him. Reviewing my birthright. This will be mine someday. Naruto sighed as he pinched the bridge of his nose. That's only if Bruce doesn't give it to Dick or Tim. Naruto looked up to Damien, who was glaring at him. Oh, don't give me that look. They have as much a right as you do. Them practically being his adopted sons in a manner of speaking. Damon looked out the window before speaking up. Deathstroke has a contact in the city. Bruce walked over to him before speaking. In Gotham we find him. We find Deathstroke and we take him out permanently. Bruce glared down at him. We don't kill it makes us like them. Damien glared at him. Also it makes us better than them. Deathstroke killed my grandfather. He has to pay. Bruce stared down before speaking. Rose was a madman. He was a hero and he died a hero. Damon said before bringing up a hollow projector and brought up YBU along with INF. Ormation Yubu is Deathstroke's right-hand man. He used to work for grandfather. He's in town to partake in his vices from what mother told me. I looked up the rest. Bruce raised an eyebrow at that. Set this is classified information. You got this from the back computer, didn't you? Bruce asked as Damien POC. Keted the device I've been hacking since I was 6. It was easy. Hey Naruto picked Damon up by the back of his shirt before taking him to the elevator. Call Alfred. Talia Himalayas. A masked Talia and a group of assassins dropped down at a castle entrance and ran inside Slade's mind, she said as they ran down the hall. Boom, only for several explosions to go off, killing all but her and 3 men. They looked around the smoke that filled the hall before several shans hit the men in their necks and forcing Talia to block several more. Suddenly a masked man holding a katana without a guard dropped down and attacked Talia, pushed him back before stabbing him in the heart. She attacked several more masked men before Deathstroke appeared behind her and knocked her out. A man walked over and pulled his sword out. No, she's more useful alive, Deathstroke said, looking down at the unconscious Talia. Arkham Asylum. Rain poured down as Naruto in his costume, Batman and James Gordon with a bulletproof vest with GCPD on it walked down the hall, passing a cell with the Joker in it. They passed another with a man that has his entire left side of his body burned, flipping a 2-headed coin. They heard a loud groan. E4 stopping the cell with Croc and it chained to the back wall. They walked in and saw his scales were coming off before James spoke up. Croc's still coming down from whatever he was on. Batman nodded before speaking. The drugs he was stealing were mutagens. I've got a pretty good idea for whom. James looked at COC before speaking. He's too far gone to interrogate, and if he wasn't, I'm not sure he'll talk. Batman walked over and stopped just in front of Croc. You're falling apart, Croc. You're even shedding your scales. It's over. You got the last fix you'll get from Langstrom, so tell me, where is he? Cog J. Ust stared at him before speaking. Screw you. Batman reached down and ripped his tail off. They're afraid to medicate you, Croc. They don't want to get too close. Batman leaned in Croc's face. But me, I'm not afraid. You help me, I'll help you later. Kirk Langstrom's apartment. Naruto and Batman dropped down in the kitchen and saw a shuriken in it before picking it up. I wonder if this is a reason he was kicked out, Naruto asked, looking at the shuriken. Unless he wants us to find him. They walked to his laboratory and searched around. A green glow came up from a door leading down and they walked down the stairs. Holy, Naruto said, seeing several animal bat hybrids sleeping in cages before seeing one cage ripped open. They heard a grunt from the ceiling and looked up to see a gorilla bat hybrid staring down at them. Oh fu. Naruto stopped as the gorilla dropped down at them and attacked. Naruto pulled his bow and an arrow with a prod on it before shooting it and shot the gorilla. When they walked over, the gorilla jumped at them, grabbed Naruto and jumped out the window. Get the hell off me, Naruto yelled, flipping them around so the gorilla fell on the concrete, cracking it. Naruto brought his fist down and punched the gorilla in the head, knocking him out. That man dropped down and looked at the gorilla before hearing something. They went to the next building as a drone flew to them and flew at Kirk's building. Boom, the building exploded as Batman and Naruto crashed several water towers to fall on the flame's apartment. Yubu in a white suit walked in with 2 women before walking to hang his jacket up. You'll need to keep this shut if you want me to take my things off. Yubu stopped before pulling out an Uzi and puts a finger to his mouth. He looked around the room before stopping at a closet. I'm going to give you till the count of 3. 1. He opened, fired on the door before seeing it was empty as the doors fell off. Suddenly Damien, in his assassin attire with a katana on his back, dropped through the skylight and attacked Yubu. He kicked the gun out of his hand before pulling out his sword to slice a lamp that was thrown at him. Leave harlots. The women ran out at Ybu picked up his bar and threw it at Damon to pick up Godlet claws before attacking Damon, whereas Deathstroke. Yubu smirked before speaking. Did you think it would be that easy? Damien smirked before dropping his sword and dashed at Yub. Taking him out to his balcony. Yubu jumped over to a lower building and used his claws to slide down the wall, with Damien following into the streets fighting him. They attacked each other before Damon kicked him, jumped up and landed on Yu's head. Either I get answers or you get the sword. Suddenly Sam E1 kicked Damon away from Yubu. Damon looked up to see a man catching his sword. He has black hair and a domino mask on his face. He's wearing a black unitard with black shoulder pads, boots and gloves. The chest area of his uniform is emblazoned with a blue bird with its wings expanded and his abdomen Area is colored in a lighter gray and a black utility belt, and the psychos just keep getting younger, he said before Damian attacked later. Nightwing with several cuts along his body panted as he looked up to see Damian tied in the air from light post. He picked up a cell phone before hearing a sigh low. Oking to his left he saw Batwoman sitting on a motorcycle looking at him. Really, my boyfriend who was trained by Batman. The Batman can hardly handle a 12-year-old boy. Oh shut up, Nightwing Wiy said before calling Bruce later. Batcave. Naruto watched as Alfred stitched a cut on Dick's arm. Oh thank God you got rid of the mullet. Don't tell me Sonya convinced you to get rid of that. Dick glared at him before looking up to Damian. Remember who the blood son is? Naruto smacked Damon upside the head. Watch it boy, Dick's been Bruce's son longer than you have. Damon huffed before looking to the older costumes. T.S. was yours? Damian asked Dick, staring at the Robin costume. Still is, Dick replied before walking up. As Damian opened the case he closed it before looking to Damon. Keep your hands off it, kid. Damon looked at it. Is this what you wore for training? He asked as Dick shook his head. No, patrolling. And before you speak, Damian, if you can hide with bright colors you'll be good at hiding from your enemies, Naruto said before seeing Batman talking to James about you. Naruto watched Damian walk down to Batman. He doesn't deserve to breath. Batman stood up and pushed his chair away. Do you know what you were out there? Not a warrior nor a soldier, you a child. Damon pointed to Dick who was in costume without his mask. If it wasn't for Naruto soon interrupted him. If it wasn't for Dick you would have gone too far and killed him. Damian glared at him. So Naruto shrugged at that. Then you would have lost your only way to find Slade. Now he can't talk, so we have to wait longer, and who knows what Slade's done by now. I know your mother went to find him. He was able to beat Raz. What if he kills your mother because he now has the time because we can't find him? Batman said, throwing the star at Damon who caught it. Goo. D reflexes. Damon looked at it. It's a League of Assassins star. Batman nodded before speaking. We found it at a warehouse belonging to a Kirk Langstrom. There appears to be a connection to RW and Deathstroke. I want to help like he used to, Damian said, pointing to Dick. It's bad enough you let them know we onto them. You're letting vengeance cloud your judgment. Damian stared at him. You've never felt vengeance. The Tat Man just stared at him for a moment. Every day, but you need to be centered. You can't fight crime by becoming a criminal from now on. Stay close. That's an order. Damian nodded before Dick sp. Oak up. I'm not going to like this. Am I? GCPD rooftop. Naruto and Batman dropped down by James before Damian dropped down in a costume. He's wearing a green domino mask, red shirt with dark green long sleeves, green gauntlets, utility belt and an R over the left chest. He has dark green pants, knee pads and boots. He also has a yellow cape with a smaller black one that's tattered and has a hood. Another one? James asked as Batman stared. I'll explain later. James threw him a paper with a number on it in a Ziploc bag that was in use. Place. Look at the back. Doing so they saw abandoned Gotham Coliseum on it. Rain poured down as they stood on a roller coaster across from the Coliseum. Dad used to bring me here for ball games, Batman said before grabbing Robin who tried to jump over. Wait, think before acting. Batman handed Robin binoculars as Naruto zoomed in with his glasses and saw cameras there watching for us, he said before seeing a grate near them and saw blue lines leading to the Coliseum. They dropped down and crawled underneath to a janitor's closet as two men walked past them. Robin tried to attack but was held back. Wait, we need to find Langstrom quietly, Batman said as they ran to the next and found stairs leading down a floor. Going down they saw a vent before quietly taking it down. Robin crawled first as Batman jumped in, followed by Naruto who put the grate back and used glue to hold it in place. They came to the other side and saw Kirk working on serum before crawling out. Dr. Lang Strom. Kirk turned around and saw Naruto and Batman staring at him. You need to come with us, and no, Deathstroke has my family. He says he'll kill them if I don't. He stopped as Robin ran at him. I'll make him talk. He grabbed Kirk and threw him at another table, having a group of men run in. Oh come on, Naruto yelled, dodging several swipes from a sword before grabbing the man's arm and hit his elbow, breaking it. The man screamed before Naruto grabbed his head and brought it down to his knee, knocking him out. He looked back to see Robin take a sword, but after Batman yelled at him only attacked with kicks and Naruto grabbed two swords and blocked an attack from another before kicking the man away as more ran in. Batman dropped a smoke bomb and they escaped as Naruto put the swords in his belt loops on each waist. They ran onto the field before stopping as they heard a screech. Looking up they saw human hybrids with swords on their backs and bats. Batman said to as they opened their wings, "O son of a," Naruto yelled as the horde of man-bats fell down and landed on them. Naruto kept one from biting him before picking up an arrow and it exploded in a bright light as Batman threw several batarangs up to ceiling. Naruto jumped up to the opening as Batman and Robin grappled up. Boom, the batangs blew, trapping the man-bats as Naruto looked to see Robin running after Kirk. "Stupid kid," Batman said as Naruto smiled, "must get his stubbornness from you." They dashed over and stopped Robin from hurting Kirk. His sword, Robin, he just said. Deathstroke has his family. I think that's grounds enough to show he's not doing this out of free will. Later, back cave, Naruto pulled the bag off of Kirk's head. Kirk explained that Ross paid him to make a formula for human-animal hybrids for his assassins before Deathstroke took his family, and that when he talked to them, Rebecca said there was snow and 2 mountain peaks. Grandfather's compound. Robin said his Nightwing looked to Kirk. "Can you make a cure?" Kirk nodded before Naruto turned to Batman. "Go on ahead, just throw one of my Haitian flying thunder god Kai. Since the Batjet is only fitted for 2." Later, after feeling the pull, Naruto disappeared and reappeared beside Batman inside the castle. Naruto followed Batman as they walked the empty castle before turning on his vision. "Over here," Naruto said, stopping by a wall. He pushed a rock in and the wall opened up to reveal Rebecca and Francine. Naruto saw Rebecca run to Robin, hug him and whisper in his ear. Never got the fascination with the dark, brooding type, he thought before taking them out to the bad jet. Later, Wayne Towers, Scotland. Naruto, now wearing jeans and a black shirt, watched Bruce talk to Nightwing about the castle and Kirk working on the antidote. Before looking in Damon's room, he quietly cursed seeing him and his costume gone before walking out of the room and quickly got dressed in his costume. Bruce, Damien's gone. I think he went after Slade. Later, Naruto in his costume and Batman flew over an oil rig before dropping out the jet and fell onto 2 men, knocking them out. They walked in a room and heard gunshots from a vent leading down. They jumped down and saw a cave with Deathstroke holding a gun at Robin. Batman threw a batang, hitting the gun out of his hands. Kill them. Deathstroke Elda's man-bats flew down only to screech in pain as Naruto shot arrows around the cave and Batman threw batarangs that let out a high-pitched sound. They flew away as Deathstroke ran off with Robin following after. Naruto looked to see Talia groaning with a bullet wound in her stomach by a pit with green glowing water. "Get her in, I'll go after Robin," Naruto said, running down a tunnel. He stopped in a boiler room and saw Deathstroke looking at Robin, who was pinned to a tank with a knife and sword through his arms. Naruto jumped over and kicked Deathstroke away, who picked his swords off his back. "Really?" Naruto asked before reaching to a seal on his arm. One of the katanas as he stole poofed in his hand as he sighed. "Not a real swordsman, but I had bad luck last time I went up against someone who used a bladed weapon." Nar looked up to him before continuing, "Now I know what you're thinking. What's doing using just a blade on me? Why not one of his powers?" "Well, I don't want to use my powers on opponents that have no powers at all. I don't want to kill them, nor do I want to rely on using my strongest moves in mod on weak opponents." Deathstroke dashed at him, forcing Naruto to block several strikes. Before kicking him away, Deathstroke jumped at him just as Naruto swung his sword at Deathstroke's blades dropped to the ground as Naruto sliced through them. Deathstroke looked back to see green energy along the blade. "Thanks, Asuma-sensei. Teacher can't use much wind chakra as not to damage the blade yet anyways, but it worked." Deathstroke yelled before dashed at Naruto, who just kicked him at a pipe's door. "Ah!" he screamed as boiling water hit him. Naruto grabbed him just as he fell off of the platform and punched him in the head, knocking him out. And now healed. Talia and Batman ran over to them, and Damien, now free, ran to her. "Now let's get the hell out of here," Naruto said as he disappeared with Deathstroke and the others left in an escape pod. Later, shoreline. Naruto watched as Talia and Bruce talked about Damien. "He'll went to be with his mother," Talia said as Batman stared at Uri's Robin, now he needs to stay with Batman. Naruto rolled his eyes at that. Talia, he can't be an assassin yet, he needs a childhood. Let Bruce take him and I can train him in combat. I do no similar moves to the League. Talia sighed as she saw Damien in his costume without his mask. Learn from your Ather and Naruto, they can teach you many things, she said, giving Damien a hug and kiss before looking to Naruto. My father has kept tabs on you. Naruto raised an eyebrow at that before she continued, and under different circumstances, if I didn't meet Bruce, I think I would have fell for you instead, said I. I'll be back for him someday, she said, walking to a ship and leaving here. Damon. Naruto threw Damon a sheathed katana he took from Deathstroke's men, and Batman glared. Wait, just pull it out, Naruto said as Damien pulled the sword, showing the blade is reversed. I noticed that you focused on fighting with a sword, now you can use that and won't hurt your opponents. The blade is just to cut things with. Batman sighed before turning around. Leading, go home. Damien fixed the sword on his back. I'll drive, he said before Batman spoke up. No, Naruto chuckled before walking to his tomahawk. I know how, Damien said as EY walked to the jet. No, Gotham. A few days later, Naruto in his suit walked beside Barbara in a black dress to a restaurant. Sorry for taking so long, that mission dealing with Slade took longer than I thought. She held his right arm and leaned against him as they walked inside. There, she said low. Oking to see Dick in a black suit with black undershirt and tie walked alongside with Sonia in a red dress. Hey guys, Sonia greeted as Naruto and Barbara sat down at the table. Barbara's apartment, Gotham. Barbara was in the shower washing her hair. She jumped when she felt two arms wrap around her, but I led. Hearing Narc voice, need some help, Naruto asked, kissing her collarbone making her moan. Yes, I good, she replied, turning around and pressing herself against him, making Naruto smile as he kissed her. After the shower, Naruto and Barbara walked out in robes. Barbara walked to her dresser before Naruto spoke up. I love this look on you, she smiled before turning to look at him. I'm sure you do. By the way, how has Anko been? Unsettling in. Naruto shrugged at her. Fine, she's still getting used to hiding her identity in order to go patrolling, as well as not killing or maiming her victims. She had her first solo Ms. Sion right after getting back here from getting my arm fixed, Naruto said before crossing her arms. Flashback, Naruto with his arm in a sling looked at his computer in his office as a picture of Batman was on it. Okay, got it, Batman, I'll send Anko out to get Jervis. Naruto hung Batman up before calling Oh, and he gained a small nosebleed as she walked in wearing only her skirt and mesh bodysuit. What can I do for Y? Lover? Several inmates escaped from Arkham. One Jervis Ted aka Mad Hatter was spotted in Metropolis. Batman has asked for our help. I thought it would be a good warm-up mission for you, Naruto said as she shrugged and walked out. Wait, she looked back as he threw her a book with Alice in Wonderland on the cover. I guess the easiest explanation on what he does would be that he can use genjutsu illusion technique and some level of mind trolled through technology, and he's obsessed with that. Book's world. Read it to know what could happen. She walked out and got dressed in her costume before getting on her bike. As she drove out onto the road, Naruto came up on her earpiece. Mad Hatter was spotted with a tied-up girl in an old hat shop just inside of Metropolis city limits. I've also given you the same detective vision I have in your mask. Just put a finger to either side and it'll activate. Doing that, her view took a purple tint. I also changed the color to match your hair in case you were wondering. Later, she parked her bike outside an old hat shop before quietly walking in and heard Mad hated talking to his mind-controlled men in the other room. She turned on her vision and saw a group of men in rabbit masks before seeing a vent above her. Walking up the wall, she pulled the vent off and dropped it before crawling through to the other room. She dropped down, crouched, walked over to two men and knocked their heads together before dashing to another and slammed his head down on the floor. She jumped to the last man, knocked him down and kicked his head. Okay, I got to be honest, I thought you'd be taller, she said, walking to Mad Hatter, a short man with blonde hair, top hat and black suit. She picked him up by his collar and slammed him against a grandfather clock. And I thought I would be getting cage, not one of his horde. Grk. He stopped as she put pressure on his throat. Where is the girl? Anko asked before Mad Hatter smiled as the grandfather clock blowed, making Anko drop to her knees. The moment she looked at it, when she looked up, she saw she was in a forest. I guess this is what Cage was talking about, she said before taking off down the path she was on. As the Mad Hatter taunted her along the way, she stopped, seeing an electrified sidewalk, and raised an eyebrow. She shrugged before Shunshin body flicker technique over to the other side. Anko saw a drawbridge before jumping over it and continued running. Once coming near a building, she jumped towards it and ran along the way to the other side. She saw a cave in it and dropped down it to see 3 doors as a man in a rabbit mask walked between them in portraits above the door. She walked in the middle and came out of the one to the right. "Oh son of a I hate puzzles," she yelled, walking through the doors several times before she ripped them off the hinges and saw a hallway going between the doors. Running down the hall, she came to a room with a large mirror. Several men ran out and attacked her. Anko grabbed them and threw them at the mirror and broke it, revealing a door. She ran through it and saw a mansion before running down the hall and broke through a wall that was blocking the way. She stopped at another river with giant utensils in the air and jumped across to a door. "Damn, how long is this going to last?" she asked. Coming to the side of a building, she ran alongside it and saw a wire leading down to a bridge made out of playing cards. Sliding on top of the wire, Anko dropped on the bridge and saw a large pendulum destroying the bridge. She ran down the bridge and jumped to another door. She walked inside and saw she was inside a clock. Looking up, she saw a door leading out before jumping up to it and saw a clock face. She ran out and landed on a pipe that leads to the top. She jumped into another trappo and saw the Mad Hatter holding a knife to a young blonde-haired girl's throat. Anko narrowed her eyes before putting an arm behind her, and a snake slithered out to the floor and over to the Mad Hatter. The snake bit the Mad Hatter, having him let the girl go. His Anko jumped across the room and knocked him down, bringing her knee down and knocked him out. An hour later, Gotham City Police Department. The police officers were going about their business. Commissioner Gordon was going over notes with Officer Renee Montoya. Detective Harvey Bullock was enjoying a fresh box of donuts when suddenly the doors burst open, revealing Snake dragging in an unconscious Mad Hatter through the hallway towards the commissioner. When she gets to Gordon, she drops the Hatter before him. He looks her over and says, "I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're the newcomer from Cage's universe, right?" Snake then gives him a tooth grin in response. "Call me Snake, and it's a pleasure to meet you in person, Commissioner. Both Cage and Batman speak very highly of you. You as well, Officer Montoya." Renee smiles in gratitude. "Dude, thanks for bringing in two. If that invasion has taught me anything, it's that this world needs its heroes, no matter where they're from," he says while placing cuffs on Jervis. Snake then turned towards the exit, looking over her shoulder. "Well, you've got everything covered here, Kish. I'll be seeing you around." She turns to Montoya and nods as she passed Bullock. She snatched the donut he had in his hand. "Hey, he show Ted." Snake looks to him from the entrance. "Thanks for the snack, Bullock. Cage said you'd be the man to go to for these donuts," she said, proceeding to take a bite. "Hey, not bad. I'll definitely look you up again if I get a craving for these, detective," she said while her mouth was half full. "Why, you leather clad biker Juan Bab by." Snake didn't hear the rest as the doors closed in the middle of his sentence. She got on her bike and finished her donut, revving up the Bic. Anyo took another look at the city around her with a smirk. She began heading back home. Later, Naruto's house. Naruto sat in the swing on his Orca's Anko drove back and up to him. "Hey, how did the Miz?" He stopped as she yanked him inside and threw him into an empty room. Flashback end, and we celebrated for hours. Naruto finished as Barbara looked to him. "I'm not surprised Anko would have sex to celebrate a mission's success." Naruto grins at her before speaking. "I hope all my ladies want to celebrate that way." She grins at him and loosens her robe a little. "How about some pre-celebration for my graduation?" "Really? After we just did it in the shower?" She just dropped her robe and smiled at him. Naruto dropped his and walked to her. He picks her up onto her dresser and kissed her. Later, Naruto sat down and turned on the TV. "Aren't you going to help me study?" Barbara asked from her bedroom. "Yeah, just checking the news first," he replied as the news showed a story of college students reporting that fox, vulture and shark monsters at the beach attacked Them late last night either Kirk's been selling that mutagen or we have a couple of copycats, Naruto said before turning off the TV and walked over to help Barbara. Later Kirk's apartment cage. Batman and Batgirl dropped down on the balcony as Kirk sat at a table. I think you know why we're here, Naruto said as Kirk looked at the article about the beach attack. It's not me, I swear. I know it looks bad, but after the incidents and what almost happened with my family, I will not go down that road again. But someone has any ideas? Batman asked as Kurt explained that his computer at his new job was hacked a couple of weeks ago. But if there's anything I can do, anything at all, let me know, he said as Francine opened the glass door. Kirk, who are you talking to? She asked, walking out and saw only Kirk down below. Naruto started his motorcycle as Batgirl looked behind her at her school. I'll look around here, Tomo. Naruto glanced at her before speaking. What about finals? She hugged him as he sped down the empty roads. I can do that at night. Later outside Barbara's apartment, one Naruto wearing a blue shirt, his elbow sleeve jeans and boots, parked his Dodge Charger in front of the apartment where three teens talk. As they walked in, the first is a tall male with a shaved head wearing a hoodie and jeans. The next is a girl with black hair pulled to cover her right eye wearing a black jacket with the sleeves ripped off over a purple shirt and black pants. The last is a boy with brown hair wearing glasses, light brown shirt and cargo pants. Naruto put on his glasses and heard them talk about the attack. He walked behind them and turned down a hall before getting in an elevator. Speaking of which, have you cooked up any more of those patches? Naruto heard the first teen asked as the door closed. Later Naruto walked down the hall before seeing Barbara walking past him and smiled before jumping behind her. There's my naughty bookworm, I've been looking all over for you, he said before noticing a young man with black hair pushed the brown-haired boy away from his apartment. The three friends walked away, having Naruto to push Barbara against the wall and kiss her. As they passed, they separated, with Barbara giving him a dazed smile. Wow, that's quite a way to say hi, stud. He smiles at her. Well, I do like keeping my girls on their toes, he says as he looks back at the trio night campus gym and pool. The black-haired man's wham laps in the pool in the moonlight before a shadow ran past the pool. Suddenly a fin swam past him before disappearing in the water. The man screamed as a shark-human hybrid wearing a ripped hoodie jumped out at him, forcing him to swim out of the pool. A vulture-human hybrid wearing a black woman's shirt slashed him, cutting his cheek. The man ran inside to a gem before a fox-human hybrid walked to him wearing a brown shirt and pants. The fox picked up a patch and puts it on the man's arm. It disappeared in his skin, making the man scream. His veins bulged from the spot outside. Naruto leaned against the wall as Batman stood by the door to the gym when all three hybrids ran out. Seriously, what is up with this city and themed bad guys? Naruto asked, taking his bow out and aimed an arrow at the trio. The shark jumped at Batman, who picked up taser brass knuckles and hit him in the back as Naruto's hot an arrow that exploded in a net. The fox sliced it before jumping at Naruto, who kicked him into the vulture. Hey, we've got a problem, that girl yelled, running out from inside. We know, Naruto said before the door burst open, showing a gorilla-human hybrid running out and across the block to a park. Is where we call in the Justice League, right? That girl asked, making Naruto snort. For a monkey they'd kick us out in a second. What about Grodd? Batgirl asked as they gave chase. Completely different situation. They found the monkey attacking people before Naruto shot 2 rope arrows that tied him to a tree. Later Naruto dropped down on the balcony of Kirk's apartment. He entered his bedroom. Seeing him and his wife sleeping peacefully, he threw Kirk a vial of blood, waking both Kirk and Francine. Blood samples from someone who's had that mutagen in him. Can you make an antidote with it? Naruto asked as RK looked to the vial. I think so, but it'll take tea. He trailed off, seeing that Naruto is gone. Kirk looked to Francine with a shameful look until he felt her hand on his cheek. Honestly, Kirk, I'm just glad that you're not involved with any of this and that you're using that amazing mind to help others. Ain't she finished with a kiss? Morning, Barbara's apartment. Naruto walked by an open door where Amber, David and Justine were laughing about Jake getting kicked from the building. Careful guys, you can't fight a bully by becoming one, Naruto said walking past the door as Amber closed it. Naruto picked his GLA SSES up and turned on his vision before seeing the trio watch a news report of Gotham University's dean say he'll be testing all students for mutagen. As the trio cursed, he looked down to see a black feather before picking up every bit of evidence. Helps Batcave Naruto with his hood down, and Barbara W. earring her costume without her mask looked at the analysis of the feather as Batman walked over. Got the antidote from Langstrom, Batman said before seeing the screen, and we've got the trio unless the university is stocking the pillows with endangered vulture feathers. Later the team watched people wall King out of the school from the bell tower. Where's everyone going? Batman asked his bodyguard. Looked down. Football game. Both the dorms in my apartment building next door will be nearly empty. We could probably walk through the front door. Naruto chuckled at that before picking her up bridal style. Where's T? He fun in that they jumped in David's room and looked around the room. They at the game? Batman asked his bodyguard. Shook her head. No, they're not the school spirit type. Batman looked around before stopping at a wall. What type are they? He asked as Naruto looked in a closet, the kind no one notices until it's too late. The misfits. Everyone fits in somewhere. The hard part's finding where. Batman finished before seeing a computer with a blinking light. Turning it on, they saw blueprints for a gas bomb on it. Later they walked in the university's lab and saw several animals in cages. Lab animals? Naruto asked BEF. Or hearing something break. Looking ahead they saw Fox and Vulture before they attacked Naruto, and Batman punched them before Shark attacked them from behind. Batman picked up the antidote spray and aimed it at Shark. Vulture grabbed it and flew around the room before Naruto jumped at her and brought her down to the floor where the spray rolled along the floor and in a cage. Naruto and Batman ran in just as Batgirl was thrown in and the door shut. Shark used his mouth to bend the bars before Fox brought a chair over. You know, you were a real inspiration, Batman, along with that band of thieves, the horrible trio you fought some time ago. I remember seeing you when I was a kid. You had everything I ever wanted: power, freedom, no one to answer to, and the whole animal thing too. Batman raised an eyebrow at Fox before speaking. You might have seen me but you did not understand. Fox narrowed his eyes before speaking. Oh, I understand now. You're a sellout. You, her, and the Justice League a bunch of monkeys for the cops. He then pointed to Cage. Even the ninja. I honestly thought him being from another universe would give him more sense than you guys, but he just ended up becoming another flunky. He finished Javi. Batman glare at him. And you've turned yourself into a cheap circus act, Fox growled before standing up and threw the chair before explaining he's going to turn the entire university into animal hybrids. Before walking out with Vulture and Shark, they threw a tank full of snakes down before walking. Oh. Oop, good thing you made him angry, Naruto said, walking to the bars because he forgot I have awesome powers. He focused his chakra to his limbs and broke the door down before they ran after the trio. When they caught up they saw Shark about to bite guards at the locker room before Batman jumped over and gave him the antidote. The guards tackled Justin as he turned back to normal before Vulture flew out and took the antidote. That girl dropped down on her and sprayed Vulture in the face before punching her in the locker room. Fox bent down to grab the antidote only for Nar to step on his hand. Naruto punched him in the head, knocking him out before spraying Fox in the face. Guys, the bomb! Naruto turned to run at the bomb and pulled out a scroll. Got it. Naruto sealed it inside before taking out handcuffs as the guards ran in. A month later, Gotham University. Naruto sat in the stands as he watched Barbara receive her diploma and took a picked picture. Looking to his left he saw a clone with red highlights in his hair sit beside Kara before walking down to Barbara. Congratulations, honey, Naruto said, hugging Barbara. Now that you're done with school, I was wondering if you'd want to move in with us, he asked, pointing to his clone as James walked over to them. I assume you already talked it over with Dad, she asked, still hugging him. Jim got to them and hugged Barbara tightly. We had a long conversation about, didn't we, Naruto, he said while Naruto gulped slightly, remembering that throughout the whole conversation Jim had his sidearm on the table. James let go of his daughter and held her by the shoulders. Does he make you happy, Barbara? She looked back to Naruto and smiled. Yes, Dad, every single day he smiles to her and lets her go, saying then make sure he keeps doing so with tears in her eyes and a smile On her face Barbara turned and threw herself into Nut's arms. Then yes honey, the answer is yes. Castle Cage punched a man dressed in Cobra-themed armor as another man dressed in it with a green cape was at an altar with an unconscious woman laying on it. You're too late Cage, the ritual to unleash Compel. Eat chaos has begun, the man said as the woman's eyes and mouth glowed gold. Well, if it's chaos you want Cobra, I've got the perfect thing. Ladies, all of Naruto's girls dropped down through a hole with Mai wearing her regular blue attire with a Kiri Hunter Nin mask having purple wave markings on the bot. Tom's Supergirl dropped down and punched the floor, having a group of the men to fall down. Mist May dropped down as another group of men ran to Naruto and blew out mist from her mouth, having the men fall down unconscious. Cheetah, Badgirl, Wonder Woman, both Cheetah and Bad Girl dropped down and attacked another group before Wonder Woman flew across the room and threw men out of the window on the ground. Naruto kicked Cobra away as the woman returned to normal. Suddenly a large Cobra statue attacked Naruto, who jumped out of the way, having Wonder Woman and Supergirl punch it and broke it. Good job girls, Naruto said, laying the woman down before continuing. You were quick, efficient, and took out the bridge so more of the cult wouldn't get here, right Snake? He finished, having Enko gain a sheepish look. Oh, was I supposed to take out the bridge? Naruto's shoulders slumped as he saw a very large group of cultists running across a bridge to get to them. Next day, Smallville, Naruto's house. Hunter excitedly ran around Barbara as she walked into the residence with a large box. Okay, that's the last of it, she said, walking to her shared room with Kurara. Yeah, we're all glad you're here officially, that is, Naruto said, standing at the door as Barb was wearing a tank top and shorts walked past him. He walked towards Barbara and wrapped his arms around her waist before pulling her in for a kiss. How about we take a break, he asked, letting her go before feeling a pair of breasts on his back. Looking over his shoulder, he saw a smirking Barb. You know the others are currently occupied. How about having your barbed wires wrap around your fence pole? I'll second that, Barbara said, making Nar look at both of them. Seeing they seductive yet eager looks, he shrugs, saying, if my ladies insist. Then he proceeds to pick them both up over his shoulders, surprising them. They giggled before Barbara spoke up. You certainly know how to claim your women, stud. Barb soon added, Den I'll say, lifting this onto your shoulders like we're your catch of the you. She gasps, with Barbara following suit. Naruto placed his hands on their asses, groping and massaging them with a grin. He tells them, as long as it makes my ladies happy. Besides, you're all the best catches I've ever made, he finishes while enjoying hearing their moans of pleasure. Enough sweet talking, love, just take us to bed, then take us like animals. Barb moans out, yeah, what she said. Bara added in agreement. He then proceeds towards his bedroom, passing Hunter. Don't wait up, boy, this could take a long while, but don't worry, I've already prepared lunch for you, he finishes while walking up the stairs. Hunter was left tilting his head slightly. He looks to the kitchen to see his bowl fill lead, making him lick his chops. A month later, Gotham Clock Tower. Naruto watched a news report on Gotham's villains disappearing as several civilians are saying they're glad for whoever's doing the job. Whenever Batman puts them in jail, they just break out, and Cage isn't strong enough to handle villains around the world. I say it's time for them to hang up their masks, the man finished as Naruto looked to see Darcy and Teresa now in her human form sitting on a couch. Anything you picked up on this rumor, new guy, he asked, making them shake their head no. This new person also grabs the henchman too. We've got nothing we can pick up because they don't leave a trace, Darcy said as Naruto nodded before sighing. Just when I thought this city couldn't get any worse, now we have someone who's possibly killing the criminals. Keep me informed, Naruto said before jumping through the door on the ceiling and came on the roof, ran to the edge, dropped down and slid down the wall to his bike. Another group of villains got attacked, sending you the location. Oracle came up on his earpiece. Roger that, Oracle, I'll pick up Robin since Bruce is busy with the new watchtower. Later, warehouse. Cage and Robin looked at the destroyed room in the warehouse. Firefly, Rag Doll, and Killer Moth were all here. They put up a hell of a fight, Naruto said before Robin spoke up. He's doing the world a favor. Naruto rolled his eyes at that. Well, what if he decides to go after the heroes next, or the police? The problems with Harrow's that are willing to kill is that they may turn on the people they're supposed to protect. Hold up robbery at the art museum, Naruto said before running off with Robin. Later, as they stopped in front of a museum, saw a broken window with a brick inside. Subtle, Robin commented as they walked inside before hearing a woman's voice speak up. "Oh, I've got a special place for you. Oh crap," Naruto said as he saw Copperhead looking at a golden snake statue with ruby eyes. "How about keeping it right here?" Copperhead smiled as she flicked her tongue out at her. "Oh lover, come to see little oh me, and I thought Oben was the bat's sidekick," Copperhead said as Naruto deadpanned at her. "He's busy at the moment and I've just been handling Robin's training as of late," Naruto said. His Copperhead smiled. "And how did you find me?" "I thought I was being careful." Rob pointed to the broken case beside them. "Nothing," says Karif. "All like a brick through the window." Naruto narrowed his eyes before speaking. "Someone else has tripped the alarm." He looked to his left and saw Shades. Copperhead walked over and stopped by Naruto. "Okay, I see you got my message." Naruto raised an eyebrow at that as Shade walked over and dropped to his knees. "Please take me in." Cage blinked before Shade stood up. "All right, you need me to be caught in the act." He looked around the gallery for a moment before he took a painting from the wall and looked to them. "There, I'm stealing." Naruto and Robin deadpanned at that. Copperhead could only put a hand over her eyes and shake her head in embarrassment. "What's a guy got to do to get arrested? I just need your protection from that new guy. He's not like you leaguers." Copperhead chuckled before speaking. "There's no new guy, he's just a rumor." She trailed off, seeing a yellow triangle come up on Shade's chest before Robin pushed him out of the way as a spear hit the floor. "The thing about rumors, they look to see a man in silver armor shimmer into sight holding a bow staff. They're often true." Naruto grabbed his bow as Robin jumped up and pulled his sword out. The man attacked Naruto, who used his bow as a staff to block the man's strikes. Robin dashed to the man only to get punched away. Naruto pulled out an arrow and shot it before the man disappeared from sight and the arrow exploded into glue. "No point in his sticking around," Shade said as Copperhead took the snake statue and ran only for the man to throw a grenade at the door and destroyed it. Naruto threw a punch at the man only for him to disappear from sight. Naruto activated his detective vision but couldn't see him. "Sorry Cage, the suit absorbs my body heat." Naruto pulled 2 arrows out and put them in his bow only for a chandelier to fall on Naruto and Robin. Just as he let the string go, the arrows hit the ground near Copperhead and exploded into smoke. She looked to see an outline of the man and scratched him with her clawed gauntlet. Suddenly the invisible man hit her above the head and knocked her out before disappearing with her. Naruto groaned as he pushed the chandelier off and walked to where the man was. "This rumor is good." Naruto picked up a silver fiber as Robin spoke. "No, he isn't." Gotham Clock Tower. Naruto, Robin, Teresa, Darcy, Batgirl and Cheetah looked at the large hollow screen as Darcy tested the fiber rumors using light reflecting No-tech to become invisible. Only company in Gotham making that is Karen Industry. Its CEO Paul Karen. Naruto looked to her before nodding. "Okay, got it, let's go," Naruto said as he, Robin, Batgirl and Cheetah left through the door in the ceiling. Naruto grabbed Cheetah and jumped down as the others used their grapple guns to fly down. Later they dropped through a window and saw a blonde-haired man sitting at a desk. Cage, Batgirl, Robin and Cheetah. "I hear someone's going after your job," Paul said as Cage walked forward. "This new vigilante is using tech from your company to abduct criminals from Gotham. Well, if you find him, tell him I want to shake his hand," Paul said as Cheetah crossed her arms under her chest. "Any idea how he got your stuff?" she asked as Paul shrugged before pushing away from the desk, showing he's in a wheelchair. "I don't know, maybe it fell of a truck, maybe it isn't my tech," or he wheeled over to them. "Maybe I just don't care," he finished before explaining. "A few years ago, while showing off a new machine that'll destroy walls with little effort, the Joker attacked him and as Batman fought Joker he got paralyzed from a scaffold falling on him. The lights flickered off and the heroes vanished. Rough the fire escape. So where do we go now?" Robin asked as both Naruto and Batgirl spoke up. "Who says we're done here?" Later the group looked around the lab of suits, parts and other boxes. "What are we looking for?" Cheetah asked as Naruto looked at a box. "We'll know when we find it." Suddenly the light started Ted to come on as Paul wheeled and they hid as he stopped at a machine that picked him up and placed him into a suit similar to Rumor's and started walking. The next night Naruto and the others walked up to Paul in his lab. Joker was taken earlier. Paul smiled and held his hand out. Congratulations. Naruto raised an eyebrow at him. It wasn't us. Robin stepped forward. Anything you want to confess? Paul gestured to his legs. We know about your exo suit. Paul sighed before wheeling over to a table explaining the idea for the suit. After finding no military applications, so I've been working on it to help people like me. He finished as a man in a gray suit and black hair walked in. Mr. Karen, everything all right? Paul nodded before Naruto spoke up. Where's your other bodyguard from last night? Paul looked at him before answering. Mario, it's his night off. Karen, factory man, you're stupid, Robin said looking at Mario in his suit with the face up as he had a laser pointed at the caged rogue gallery in glass cells using one of you boss's old factories for a hideout. He finished saying as Mario looked shocked. He helped you find me, but this was all for him. Even he knows what you're doing is wrong, Cage said before the Y dropped down on top of the cells. Mario disappeared as Cheetah and Batgirl threw paint pellets at him, covering him in blue paint. Robin ran to him and slid as Mario attacked with his spear. As Robin got up, he was shocked from the spear. Naruto grabbed Mario and slammed him down on the floor before destroying his chest plate, having Mario shimmer into sight. Naruto picked him up and threw him at his console, having the cells open up. Mind if we cut in? Cage. Naruto looked to see Joker standing in front of Gotham's criminals, including Shade, Volcana, Killer Frost and Sukuri. You see, Cage, there's a nasty lit TLE rumor we'd all like to stomp out. Naruto sighed before creating a group of clones as the others dropped by him to help attack the assembled criminals. Later Naruto and the other on a rooftop looked as the police took Mario and the others away. Suddenly Naruto felt someone press against his back and kiss his cheek. Just wanted to say thanks, handsome, Copperhead said, taking a couple of steps back. Cheetah and B-Girl glared before Copperhead spoke. Oh, before I forget, if you want another ROM, call me. The girls leapt at her, only for Naruto to grab them over his shoulders. He walked away as the girls glad to get off of him. Get back here, you for-tongued skank, Cheetah yelled. Naruto looked to see Robin holding Rumor's bow staff before shrugging and took the girls away. A week later, Gotham. Naruto in his suit sat with Barbara at a cafe and Bruce completely forgot the woman's name. She finished while the Y shared a laugh before hearing a woman scream bugs. They looked behind and saw several giant praying MTISs attacking the buildings surrounding them. What the hell? Naruto exclaimed, grabbing Barbara and ran into an ally. As they changed, they saw Robin attack one of the mantis that had a policeman with his sword and cut off its arm. The mantis fell down and its head fell off his cage and Bad Girl ran out to attack another two. Suddenly all the mantises fell apart without any effort at all. Never a normal day in Gotham, huh? Naruto asked, pressing a button on his hollow computer. His bike and a black motorc YCLE with a yellow bat symbol on the tank drove up to them. Naruto got on his as Batgirl and Robin got onto the other motorcycle and drove off to the clock tower. Later Darcy looked at the mantis's DNA before Batgirl spoke up. So the insecticide didn't kill them? Darcy shook her head before replying, no, Air DNA was altered so that they were immune to it. They were programmed to self-destruct when they did. Robin raised an eyebrow at that. Why would someone have them do that? Naruto looked at the screen before speaking to show us that they can. This was just a preview. The real show has yet to start. UNKN own location farm. An elderly man sat in a rocking chair whittling on the porch of a small house. He has long gray hair and wearing black pants, suspenders and a white shirt. He looked up to see his farm, a very large basement with the walls painted to look like the sky. A young woman with long blonde hair in a ponytail, blue eyes and freckles on her cheeks walked over holding a very large bag of chicken feet over her shoulder. She's wearing a white tank top showing her cleavage and jean shorts. Livestock ready to go to market. Sugar? He asked as she smiled. Yes sir, daddy. The man stood up and put on a blah CK coat. And what about the kid? He asked as the woman shrugged. Can't shut him up. The man nodded as he stood up. Well then I'm going to be in my office when you get back from running them livestock. You give me a holler, you hear? He asked, walking to the door and stepped inside. She nodded before walking Oh, a large chicken CP. I will daddy as soon as I feed the chickens. He closed the door and shot up in an elevator as he watched the woman feed very large mutated chickens. Later, Gotham Cage jumped across the rooftops as Batwoman glided across from him. Suddenly, large mutated chickens attacked a police BL. Imp as large mutated cows stampeded through the streets. Holy cow, Naruto said, making Batwoman dead panic at him. What, it's something Tim would say, Naruto said before jumping to the blimp as he saw Robin, Batgirl and Nightwing attack the cows. Batwoman hit one with her glider as Naruto shot several arrows at another that opened into ropes and tied it around a water tower. Batwoman cursed, dodging one of the chickens before looping over it and shot a net at it, trapping it on a building. That woman flew over the harbor before shooting the last one into the water. We took care of the cow. Howard th. Ings on your end, bad girl said over their earpieces. Cage looked toward the giant chicken in Gotham River. I'd suggest chicken soup for tonight, but I think this one would be a big GY, he replied. GCPD. Naruto was telling James about the animal attack from earlier. I do remember Batman talking about a farm. Brown, a geneticist who had large Ani. Naruto stopped as the door was banged open, showing a goat with red eyes. Confusion was shown on every faces, but felt disturbed on what came next. 50 million in unmarked bills at the docks tonight, or the bugs come back for good, the goat said, making James's widen. One person brings it, no tricks, no surprises and no botman or case. Suddenly Bullock walked in and pointed at the goat. Hey, he took my donut. Later Bullock drove an armored truck and followed the goat onto a large boat. He walked out and looked around with an irritated scowl. Where's the captain of this heap, he asked before looking up and saw Mel, who winked at him before the goat butted him off the boat. As Mel sailed off, she didn't notice that Bullock grabbed a hold of a rope and sailed along the farm. Brown walked outside where he saw his daughter holding Bullock before telling her to take I am to the pig pen. When she picked Bullock up, she saw a weird-looking blade fall out of his pocket. She was shocked as Naruto, Robin, Batgirl, Batwoman and Nightwing flashed in front of them. Sup, Naruto said before pulling Bullock out of the way and jumped at Brown, who picked up a pitchfork and thrusted it forward. Naruto easily dodged before kicking him in the stomach, and Nightwing picked up his shock batons before hearing Emu hold it. They looked to see her holding Robin's sword at his throat before raising their hands. They were put in a silo before Brown explained that he's made it into a rocket with mantis eggs in it that'll explode over Gotham. A daddy, can we keep? Cage asked Emu as she leaned in close to Naruto, twirling her finger on his chest. You know I do love a man that's good with his hands, she giggled, her eyes fluttering at the same time that girl was glaring and growling at Emu's advancem. Farmer Brown, however, took his daughter's shoulder and pulled her away from the silo entrance. Now honey, you can't just claim a fella without going through proper courtship. That'll just lead to a couple of broken hearts, he said, making her nod and pound back at the silo. Batwoman looked at Naruto. A bored expression. What is it with you, she asks. He looks to her and says, what, I'm cuddly. That girl was about to respond when she stopped and made a thoughtful look. Well, actually that's a good point, she says while blushing. Naruto smiles and wraps an arm around her waist. That woman looks to the hers, who have the same deadpan look as she does. Farmer Brown closed the door and the silo shook before one MTIS dropped down. Everyone get back, Nightwing yelled before going to the door, attracting the mantis over. He had the mantis slam the door and ripped it off, having everyone run out. Nightwing ran to the truck and drove it back through the door, having gas dry down before the silo rocketed outside. Boom, the silo exploded over the ocean, having pieces hit Brown's boat, trapping him and his daughter as the police sailed over the heroes and Bullock watched from the docks of the farm. Now that's mighty pretty, Batgirl said with a smile. Smallville, Naruto's house evening. Naruto, wearing faded jeans and a black shirt, swung on the swing of his porch with Kara laying on it against him. It's been 3 years, Kara said, making Naruto look down. 3 years since we both came here to this planet and 2 years since we've been together. He smiled and kissed her head. Yeah, flashback and this will be mainly a flashback, so it won't be an italic. Gotham 3 years ago in an alley, a flash of light shone before Naruto fell to the ground. He's wearing a tattered headband with the con of his symbol on it, a mesh shirt and Red black pants. Once stabilizing himself, he looked around his surroundings to see where he as well it seems were no longer at home. Naruto heard Kurama speak in his head before walking to a street. What makes you say that we could just be in aim? Naruto trailed off his thoughts, seen the car's truck KS and large buildings before stepping forward across the street. Then again you could be rig honk. Naruto looked to his left to see a black Rolls Royce swerve at him and hit him. Naruto flew back a couple of feet as an old man with graying hair and a dark-haired man of unique build ran out to look at him. Alfred call an ambulance, Bruce said before seeing Nar's wounds starting to heal. 2 months later, Wayne Manor. Naro, wearing black jeans, boots and a red shirt, walked into the library and saw several clones reading books on the English language, the different countries of the world and technology. Hey Naruto N. Arat looked to see Dick in jeans and a black shirt. Bruce wants to talk to you in the cave. Naruto walked to a grandfather clock and pulled the pendulum down. The clock moved, showing a door that opened, showing stairs going down. Walking down, Naruto came into the cave with Bruce on the computer with house and apartment listings. I thought it's time for you to find a place to live. Any requests? Naruto shrugged before speaking. Someplace with woods or near them. A moment later several listings came up and Naruto pointed to one there, 10 acres and beside a large farm. Bruce raised an eyebrow when he saw Smallville on the listings and it's near Clark K Farm. What are the chances? Bruce thought. Naruto placed a hand on Bruce's shoulder. Thank you, Bruce, for everything, he said. Bruce stood up and held his hand out, which Naruto took with a firm grip. You were an unexpected guest to be sure, but a guest that needed help nonetheless. Question is, are you absolutely sure about getting involved with mine and Dick's line of work? Bruce asked with a serious look. Naruto glanced at the suitcase beside the computer console. Hey, if I have to put on a suit in order to keep up with my ninja skills, so be it, he answered with a grin. Smallville. 2 months later, Naruto looked at his nearly finished home before hearing a car stop behind him. Looking back, he saw Martha and Jonathan walk up to him. Welcome to Smallville, young man. I'm Jonathan and this is my wife, Martha. Naruto nodded and smiled at them before Martha spoke up. Sorry, our boy Clark isn't here, he's out of town for a business trip. That's okay, there'll be a next time. Oh, is there a place that's hiring anyone? I'm looking for a job, Naruto said as one of the carpenters walked over to them. Superman. Space Superman in a space suit with his shield on. It flew near a red sun. E4 pressing a button. Personal journal. After following the original coordinates from my ship's flight recordings, I finally retraced the ship's escape route to my home planet Krypton, he said. Seeing kryptonite in the meteor rain surrounding the sun, he hit another button and a life scanner came on. Denly a distress signal came on and he followed it to what looked like a small planet. He flew across the surface and saw a frozen wasteland with destroyed buildings. He eventually stopped near a building where the signal was broadcasting. He landed by an open door and as he got out of his ship used his thruster on his suit to fly inside. He walked inside and saw ice covering the walls as he made his way to a chamber and saw a yellow glowing orb. Once he touched it, an image of a blonde woman wearing Kryptonian clothes appeared. The hologram explained how the planet Argos was caught in the blast from Krypton that knocked them out of orbit. This had caused the planet to go into an ice age where the remaining inhabitants to slowly die out due to the harsh climates. In the last parts of the message, the woman's family created a hibernation chamber to survive. When the message ended, Superman walked up to 04 chambers hoping if there were any survivors, only to see that 3 of the 4 cryopods were destroyed. He looked towards the last remaining one to see that it is still in working conditions. He wiped the fog from the window and saw a sleeping teenage girl in a gray bodysuit. Smallville. A month later, Naruto, wearing only jeans and brown work boots, drove a tractor with a cart of hay to the farm. Oh, Naruto looked to see Martha standing beside a brunette having her hair pulled into a ponytail, wearing a white tank top, overalls with cut-off legs and barefoot. I'd like you to meet Kara, Clark's cousin. She'll be living here from now on. Naruto turned the tractor off before jumping down and walked up to them. Naruto smiled a little when he saw Kara blush after seeing his chest and looked down. Nice to meet you, Kara. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I guess you're my new neighbor. She blinked, looking up As Martha spoke, Naruto not only helps with the farm but he lives just down the road from us. Oh good, that's great, Kara said, turning around so she couldn't see Naruto's chest. She did however bite her bottom lip in a smile while slightly looking back at him. Naruto smiled before going back to work. Naruto pulled into his driveway and got out of his black Charger before hearing a small growl. Looking to his porch, he saw a small black wolf pup pulling on a bone near his porch. He walked over just as the pup gave a tug, let go of the bone and tumbled back to Nar's feet. The pup quickly got up and shook his head. Hey little guy, Naruto said, causing the pup to jump before growling at him only to stop as Naruto reached down and scratched his ears. Well, looks like you've got nowhere else to go, let's go inside. Hunter. Later, Naruto inside was feeding Hunter before hearing a knock on his door. He answered. Edit showing Kara in her tank top under a black red trimmed jersey. She's also wearing black jeans and sneakers. Hey Naruto, sorry to. She trailed off hearing a bark. Looking down, she squealed seeing Hunter before picking him up. Ooh, when and where did you get him? He's so cute. Naruto's shoulder dropped at that. Oh, so you don't think I'm cute? He asked as she petted Hunter. No, I think you're ho. She stopped herself in blood before clearing her throat. Sorry, I was hoping you could drive me to Metropolis, to the Daily Planet specifically. I need to talk to Clark on a few things. Naruto shrugged before putting Hunter back inside. Sure. Later, outside the Daily Planet, Naruto in his car sat parked outside the Daily Planet. As he waited for Kara, he looked out to the cars passing his. Kara without her wig ran out with Jimmy. Sorry Naruto, she thought before turning the corner just as Naruto saw her through the rear view mirror. Was that? No, that was someone else. An hour later, Naruto banged his head on the steering wheel, missing Superman fly from a window of the building. Oh come on, I thought it was shopping that women took all day doing, he yelled before hearing a reporter speak up from running outside Superman's IGHTING intergong. Naruto perked up before reaching in his glove compartment and moved a fake bottom. A police scanner came out and Naruto drove to an empty parking lot. Reaching in the console beside his seat, Naruto pulled out an outfit. Guess now's as a good time as any to try this hair without Naruto quick. Kaylee got changed into a black combat vest, a leather long-sleeved trench coat and pants. He got out of the car and put on a black mask that covered his head. Sorry Kara, I guess I'll have to pick you up later, Naruto said before jumping up the building and dashing to where he saw smoke rising in the sky. He stopped on a building and saw both Superman and Kara in her costume facing off against four women. The first has long black hair in a full bodysuit with silver wrappings around her. The second has wild green hair, black markings around her arms and thighs. She's wearing a black top matching the lines green skirt with slits on the sides, gloves and barefooted. The third is muscular, wearing a red suit with gold gloves, boots and helmet with a visor on it. The last is a muscular elderly woman wearing a green armored suit with a cape. Naruto dropped down and landed in a crouch. Well, I hope I didn't miss action, Naruto said, standing up. Who are you? Kara asked, making Naruto turn to her. Just someone who wants to help. He stopped to duck under a punch from the muscular woman before turning and hit her with a Renin spiraling sphere. He jumped up to dodge a kick from the green-haired woman and flipped in air before kicking her through a wall. Naruto jumped back, dodging a swipe from a metal strap that shocked the ground. He looked to see the other two attack Superman and Supergirl before being shocked himself. A Naruto screamed before another strap wrapped around him. He fell to one knee just as the muscular woman grabbed two large pieces of concrete and smashed him in between them before taking a third and slammed it down on him. A few moments later, Supergirl got up and looked to see the women take Superman through a boom tube. Where's that other guy? She asked Jimmy, and one of the female teens stayed to help them over there. He pointed, making her dash over and pulled the rubble off. As soon as she saw the masked hero, he exploded in smoke, revealing nothing. What the? She asked, not noticing Naruto with tears in his clothes looking down from the roof. Damn, need to talk to Bruce about adding arm or to my clothes, he said before jumping down to see Jimmy talking to the girl. Thanks Amy, Jimmy said, making Amy shrug. I helped start this. I thought I would do right by helping to end it. Naruto walked over, rolling his shoulder. Any idea what they were doing here? Nar asked, having Amy explain that Granny just had them collect electronics, but she did keep a room locked. She took them to a large door before blasting it open, showing what looked like a very large bronze laser gun. What the hell? Naruto asked, looking at it. Suddenly it turned on and a bright light shone on them. They looked up and saw a meteor flying towards the city. Holy __, it's bringing the thing down, Naruto yelled before Amy tried to break the magnet, only to get shocked. A moment later a boom tube opened up and both Superman and Supergirl flew out of it. Suddenly Supergirl flew up and destroyed it before flying down and smiled. Here Superman stared at her, causing her to sigh. What I do now? She asked, making Superman speak. I could have used it to send the meteor back into orbit. He flew up with her, following after. Before Naruto jumped up and saw Superman fly at the meteor and started to push it back to orbit. Suddenly a large piece broke off, having Supergirl flight to and punch it. Boom! Naruto shielded his eyes from the light before seeing Supergirl fall. Damn it, he cursed before running up a building and added chakra to his legs. He jumped off as he got to the top of the building and grabbed Supergirl before landing on Anath in a roll. Smallville. A few days later, Naruto's house. Naruto watched Kara, who was helping him with chores by cleaning the gutters, as he held the ladder. Are you sure I can't convince you to let me do this? He asked as she wiped her forehead. Oh thanks, besides I owe you for driving me to Metropolis any ways, she replied, leaning forward, making Naruto blush as he stared at her as she pulled back too fast and slipped, having Nar catch her bridal style, making her blush. You alright? She nodded as Naruto put her down. Later Naruto drove back in his driveway. After taking Kara back home, he walked into his office and looked to see two costumes hanging on the wall, his stealth outfit and regular one. Thanks for the new clothes, Bruce, he said before walking out and closed the door. Flashback. And oh, by the way, I've got your present. Happy Nar Kara, Naruto said, giving her a necklace box. She opened it. ND gasped, seeing a necklace with a blue heart-shaped crystal that is actually a blue kryptonite. She quickly dropped it after he said that, causing Naruto to catch it. Easy honey, it's not your known green kryptonite. I had asked Clark to take me to Argos a few weeks ago. Reason why is that I wanted to why my respects to your family, since it would be hard for me to do so here. Not only that, but I wanted to get you something from there, since you had occasionally said that you missed home, so I thought why not have her have something to always carry her home with her all the time. Once I told Clark my reasons, he had humbly accepted the idea, so he went there. A little later, after paying my respects to your family, we found these blue ones. Actually, it gave Clark quite a shock of them not weakening him but actually strengthening him, so I decided to take some with me for your anniversary present. Besides, they really complement your eyes, Naruto explained, putting the necklace around her neck as she blushed, feeling stronger by the second. Now come on, we've got a party going inside, he said, picking her up off the swing and held her hand as they walked inside. You know I'm going to have to give you something. Gee, she said while leaning her head against his shoulder. Naruto tipped her chin with his index finger, making it so she was looking at him. Just having you still with me is a gift enough, Kara, he said, seeing her blush with light tears forming. When they entered the house, they saw the other ladies were already enjoying themselves with light drinks in hand. Before Naruto could join them, Kara pulled him back and leaned to his ear. How about I give you something I've been saving? It includes a tight jersey, a very short skirt, tube socks and a pair of pom-poms, she whispered. Naruto's eyes widened in response. Before he began to smirk. Only if you spell out our names while going through an intense endurance routine, he emphasized the last bit by spanking her ass. This caused Kara to jump slightly with a wide and eager smile on her face. Get weight, lover. Until then, like you said, we've got a party going, she giggled. Joining the others in the festivities. Earth 3. A man in black and gold armor ran down a hallway with another man donning a red helmet and cape while wearing a dark purple suit. They came to a locked vault and cursed before a light sword came up on the armored man's right hand. No time for Uddle, he said before breaking the door open, and they both ran in. The man in the helmet took out a vial of acid and threw it at a large metal drawer, and it dissolved. The other man soon reached in and pulled out an energy ball contained in a tube. Suddenly an alarm went off, having them run as the doors Closed behind them. They exploded a second later. The armored man stopped to weld one shut before the man opened a vent. They dropped down just as a fire sword is seen cutting through the door with ease and exploded. The armored man opened a pipe and jumped down just as the other man held the door. Opened. Red Hood, what are you doing? Red Hood just stared down. Only one of us can make it out of here alive. Lex, I'll hold them off, Red Hood said as he closed the door. He walked down the hall and got punched by a four-armed Marion wearing gold trunks and straps. A blonde-haired woman with white wings and dressed punched him before picking up her flaming sword. Sue, Red Hood asked before the woman stabbed him and punched his helmet. The helmet cracked, showing his pale white skin and shaggy green hair with blood coming out of his mouth. Oh, come on now, you two, he said, coughing up more blood. He then reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a large grenade with various hazardous symbols on it. Why so serious? Boom. Lex jumped out in an alley just as a building a few blocks over exploded. Your sacrifice won't be forgotten, old friend, he said before a male voice spoke up. Luther. Lex looked to see 7 people, 5 men and 2 women walking towards him. The first man has long black hair that's slicked back, wearing a domino mask, a black and green costume with a green gauntlet on his right hand and a green glowing ring on it. The next is a man in a yellow costume with red shoes, gloves and 8Q on his chest, long spiked red hair and a black visor. The next is a tall muscular man with short black hair wearing a blue suit with yellow boots, belt and a cape. He also has a blue-yellow trimmed U on his chest. The next is a woman wearing a dark blue-yellow trimmed unitard with thigh-high boots, shoulder-high gloves and a large choker with a red pendant that has a black S in it. She also has long black hair pulled in a ponytail. Beside her is a man in an armored all-themed costume with an O on his chest. Beside him is a man wearing a white fox mask, a dark blue-gray robe with gray lining and a fur collar and a tattered gray-blue cape, and he has black spiky hair. The last woman is a teenage girl with long blonde hair and has blue eyes. She's ding a red cape, blue shirt with the U on it, a red skirt and red boots that are blue on the bottom too. Sorry, but I've got other plans, Lex said, picking clean up a remote in the shape of a laser gun and disappeared from sight. Earth 1 Metropolis. Lex appeared in front of a store with televisions in the window. Okay, now to get their ad in. He trailed off, seeing a live report of his counterpart on the news announcing that he's running for governor. Crap, can't be in 2 places aces at once, he said before flying above and saw the Daily Planet. All right, good thing that's the same, he said, flying to it and opened his gauntlet showing a watch. Let's hope he gave this Jimmy a watch as well. He finished pushing a button, having a sonic wave go out. Justice League new watchtower. A Faye W. Minutes earlier, Naruto looked at his mirror to check out his new attire. He's wearing a black uniform-style jacket with an orange zipper that has several buttons on the waist and sleeves, dark orange pants and his black boots. He picked up a new red trench coat without a hood before pulling a mask that covered the bottom part of his face and his quiver. 3 He turned and saw Wonder Woman in a new costume. She swapped out her gold for silver and still has her red BSER but with an eagle and star replacing her W's and star outlines stitched on the sides. She has an armband on her left shoulder in He shape of 2 W's as well as a choker shaped like 2 W's. Dark blue pants also with outlines of stars on the legs and dark blue boots. 4 I like your new armor, Diana. It accentuates your lower po figure. Going to need to thank Aus when I ever get the chance to meet him. That is, he said as she fixed her armband her back to him. What do you mean lower figure? She asked before gasping as Naruto grabbed her ass and kissed her collarbone. She moaned, smiling while raking her hand through his hair. A few moments later, Wonder Woman walked out, picked up a large generator over her head and walked down the H. All Naruto followed after her and watched her ass as they walked. He looked at the new larger rooms and halls of the watchtower for a better picture look at Unlimited. He saw Supergirl also in her new attire flying by them. She's wearing a blue armored long-sleeved unitard that's red on the bottom, a new shield design of the House of Al, a longer red cape and red knee-high boots. 5 Kun Wonder Woman stopped in the middle of the watchtower where everyone but Flash stood while Superman and Green Lantern are outside working on the exterior of the tower. Green Lantern now has his hair in a short buzz cut. And growing a goatee. Superman now is wearing a more armored version of his suit with darker shades of blue and red. He had gone through the Kryptonian archives in the Fortress of Solitude to find better ways to protect himself in Kara. In the end he had found good armor blueprints for his people and DECIDED to incorporate them for the new attires of him and his cousin. 6 Cage saw Wonder Woman walk to the new teleporting room and dropped the G-generator onto the floor. He saw Flash on the monitor in Hawaii eating a large pretzel. He's wearing a more armored suit with a darker shade of red. 7 He saw Batman type on a large remote. Batman has a more armored suit with moving chest plate and armor over the shoulder of his cape, neck and cowl with black lines going across the suit. 8 Jean was typing on a large keyboard, also in a new costume. His new costume is primarily black with red accents and a large red belt in X-shaped straps across his chest and a blue cape that is fastened by gold clips. 9 You know the work would go by a lot faster if I was up there with you guys, Flash said, taking a bite of his pretzel. Patience, I'm almost ready for you, Batman said before putting the remote on AS. Tanned. How much is all this costing, Bruce? Wonder Woman asked as Batman pressed a couple of buttons. I don't like to think about it. Okay Flash, I'm ready for you. Testing now. Flash stared blankly before speaking. I don't know, Bats, you're sure this thing works? Batman pressed the large red button on the board. Pretty sure. Flash's eyes widened before speaking. Pretty sure that isn't. Flash disappeared from the screen and reappeared on the ramp. Good enough. Batman walked over and took Flash's pretzel. Teleporters online, Batman said, walking away and taking a bite. Are you crazy? Is he crazy? How could he use that thing on me if he wasn't sure? Flash asked as Jan walked up to them. He was joking, Jan said. His Flash stared at him. Oh yeah, how can you tell he wouldn't use it if he wasn't sure? Wally, do you think he would risk your life? Diana asked as Naruto held her by her waist. You sure? Because I don't think he me, Flash said before Jean spoke up. I don't think he likes anybody. Suddenly Superman spoke up on their earpieces. We've got trouble. It seems that Luthor is calling me. Metropolis Daily Planet. Cage landed the javelin. His Wonder Woman, Flash and Superman saw Lex Luthor in black and gold armor. What do you want? Superman asked as Naruto walked out to talk. Superman narrowed his eyes as Lex continued talking before interrupting him. You're from a parallel Earth. Lex looked surprised before speaking. How could you possibly know that? Naruto looked to Superman as he explained. Your organs are in different places. Your heart is on the wrong side. Wonder Woman glanced at him before speaking. It could just be a trick. Superman nodded before looking past Lex. True, but our Lex is in his mansion talking to his committee. Watchtower conference room. The League sat at a round table with 9 seats, each having their logos on them. Wonder Woman has her W's. Cage has his family's crest. Both Superman and Supergirl has their shields with Supergirl's new emblem design. Green Lantern has his Lantern Corps insignia. Flash has his signature lightning bolt. Batman has his bat and John has a green circle with a red X in it. Lex explained that he was the leader of his world's Justice League before being wiped out by the Crime Syndicate, a group of superpowered villains, and only a threat of a nuclear attack keeps them from completely taking over the world. Jan took him out so they could talk. I don't trust him, Superman said before Wonder Woman spoke. There's a surprise. Flash looked to Superman before speaking. Maybe he's on the up and up. Superman just stared at him. I've never met a Luthor I liked. Cage rolled his eyes at that. You've only met one. The other was killed in the universe you went to get. Lois, he wasn't there when you got her back. I've read his mind. He's telling the truth. The Crime Syndicate is as the other looked to him before Supergirl spoke up. Like the Lords. Jan shook his head. No, the Lords became corrupted. These ones were evil to begin with. Green Lantern spoke up after Jean as he looked around. Look for all my powers. I'm basically a cop. There are rules. This may be out of our jurisdiction. Only reason we got mixed up with the Lords is because they attacked us and tried to make our world theirs. Wonder Woman sighed before speaking. I can't believe we're having this discussion. Of course we're going to help. Ge sighed as Superman stood up. She's right, that's what we do. Batman, who was quiet through the discussion, looked up. Not this time, he said as the other stood up. We've got too much on our plate right now. We don't even have the new watchtower fixed yet. Superman stared down at him before speaking. We have a Responsibility to Earth. Batman nodded before speaking. Yes, our Earth, we don't have the proper manpower to do that, and like GL pointed out the last time we helped the heroes they trapped us and came here to implement their justice, Cage said, crossing his arms. I don't blame Batman for being skeptica. About this. Let's leave him here with Kurama in case that happens again, plus with Anko, Barbara, Sonia, Dick and Damon they can at least hold them off long enough for us to get back after creating a clone for Kurama. Everyone left as Naruto stared at the empty seat with a hawk head on it. He grabbed it for a moment before following after the others as they talked to Lex Earth 3 Justice League headquarters. Lex and the others teleported to see a destroyed headquarters with Almond, Superwoman and several of their underlings surrounding them. Well, Naruto cursed before Superwoman attacked. She flew towards Lex and hit him to the wall before Superman grabbed her. That'll be enough, Fro. She punched him away and turned back to Lex only for Superman to punch her through the wall. A teen boy with blue hair and dressed like a rapper attacked him before feeling a tap on his shoulder, turning arrow. He saw Supergirl before being punched by her, having him fly towards a console. Wonder Woman punched a woman dressed in red ninja attire with a white cat mask in the air, having Cage grab her and pile drive her to the floor. He saw Flash take on a rubber man and dashed around the room, tying him up. Seeing Wonder Woman hold back a woman that transformed into a lion with brown fur and black man need any help with scars. She deadpanned at him, causing Naruto to shrug. Oh come on, it was too good to resist, he yelled, turning around to see a woman with red hair and a pink costume with a hole-cut eye. And it showing her cleavage. Her eyes glowed pink and stared at Naruto, making him raise an eyebrow. This supposed to do something? She blinked before he spoke. Oh, is this like that one Jedi mind trick, he asked, making her cheeks puff out in a huff. It's not like the Jedi mind trick, I wish everyone would stop comparing it to that, she yelled at him. She would have continued if Supergirl didn't spear her away. Oh, it's always nice to see the ladies fight over me, Naruto said before hearing Lex yell out retreat. Nar and the others ran at him as Superman destroyed the halls to go outside. Everyone but Flash and Naruto flew away just as they fell from the sky and the now revealed floating building. Oh crap, they yelled before Supergirl caught Naruto and Green Lantern grabbed Flash with a baseball glove construct. Suddenly Almond in a dark gray jet flew at them before firing missiles at them. Heads up, Flash yelled. Led before the missiles hit them. Almond fired at them with a minigun inside the nose before Wonder Woman flew at him, dodging the bullets. Cage went into his cloak and flew before hearing thunder. Looking to his right he saw three people, a teen boy, a man and an elderly man wearing a similar costume as Superwoman flying towards them. Is that one of ours in Elman's jet? Naruto heard Lex over his earpiece before Flash confirmed that Wonder Woman stole it. Nar flashed inside the jet as she flew to pick up Lex. Oh, where is it? Lex asked as Supergirl flew inside. Where's what? Flash asked as Lex looked to him. The chameleon cloak. Almond drove me crazy with it. Flash sped around before hitting a red button, found it. The jet disappeared just as Superwoman flew at them. Superman, Green Lantern were right above you, Wonder Woman said, flying to the others and let them in as they flew. Lightning hit them, causing the cloak button to short out. We're still cloaked, Lex said as they flew away. Is it just me or does this plane look very similar to your previous one? Diana, Naruto commented when looking around in it. I think you're right. Crime Syndicate headquarters. Ultraman stood as the others sat at a table. Okay, Hua Riwi calling to replace Jark's. God rest his soul, he said, sitting down as Asher spoke up. The only one who could was Angelique. The others are too weak, but with her gone that will be difficult. Almond looked to the others before speaking. We should divide them up between us and his territory. Yeah, you are 80 helped yourself to the Martian crew, Johnny Quick said, leaning forward. Made men need to be associated with the head of the family if you want some of them. Almond trailed off before Power Ring spoke up. We can always trade later. What about his territory, he asked before Superwoman spoke up. I agree, Element of course his would agree, Ultra Girl said, making Superwoman glare at her. Listen here, you little see. She stopped seeing red chakra cover. Asher, I'm sorry, you were saying, he asked, make Superwoman look away as Ultram Man spoke up. Knock it off, all of you, we'll work out the details. Ater for now Allman can keep Jed's guys from the sound of it you could have used a dozen more Johnny said to Allman who spoke up Luther's new Justice League's not to be underestimated power ring brought his hands up in front of him so are we they'll fold he finished before Ultram man spoke or we'll foe. LD them just like everyone else who gets in our way let's discuss the other matter last meeting 7 of the 8 family heads approved of Project Damel a hologram of a large bomb came up on the table for our vote I've begun construction on this the quantum IGAN state device once completed the QED will give us life or death power Asher twitched his L and explained the world will bow to them or they'll blow up the planet after the meeting Ultra Girl walked to Asher and removed his mask showing the dark HAED man with darkened whisker marks and red eyes 10 Menma how come you were the only one T. Hat didn't vote for this Menma glanced to the others as they left there's no honor among thieves I'm sure the same can be said with criminals have been stabbed in the back before Ultra Girl looked to see Superwoman holding Elman's arm before speaking she's a she was only with us for the money. And went to Allman once she found out that he's worth more than you Menma snorted before crossing his arms then she could have broke up with me instead of sleeping with him for months before I walked in on them since then everyone else we've brought in has either broken up or cheated on me what about Angelique she didn't Ultra Girl said as Menma nodded and she just died I'm thinking it'll only work with us if you're still up for it she leaned up to kiss him before putting his mask back on sounds like pretty sweet deal she said Menma placed his hand on her cheek stroking gently she held it and bought her hands and smiled Justice League Red Hood's cave cage walked a few feet behind the others as he stared at the gesture-themed cave oh man I'm glad Batman decided to stay this would kill him they walked up to the computer as a hologram of a blonde-haired woman came up I'm sorry Harley Red Hood's G. One Naruto blinked at that as Lex explained that the made men are the underlings of each of the crime syndicate heads they bring no more than 7 at most Wex start hitting the operations one at a Lex finished as Superman stood forward no that'll take too long Luther Lex interrupted him as he stare at him please call me Lex Superman explained that they would go in teams of 2 to attack each business at the same time Flash and Martian Manhunter docks the Flash dashed towards the docks to see Johnny standing with a blonde-haired woman with sunglasses wearing leather clothes and black French coat. He punched several of the armed men before dashing to where Earth-3's Labo was on a container being lifted and created a tornado to break the rope the container dropped his flash stopped Sue he asked before a red arrow flew by him looking back he saw a man in a red Robin Hood themed costume shoot at him before Jean attacked in the form of a dragon the woman attacked with a sonic cry before Flash grabbed her and dashed further towards the ocean before dropping her he dashed back to see Jean fly through the ship and sink it as Johnny dashed away Wonder Woman in Green Lantern warehouse wand. Woman grabbed a truck that was being loaded with chemicals and drugs and dropped it into the warehouse as Green Lantern flew inside a woman with long black hair dressed in Roman clothing with a small spear flew up to her and attacked they traded punches before the woman's spear handle extended and hit Wonder Woman the woman punched her down where Green Lantern was coming out and saw her land hard against the brick wall I got her he said looking up before Wonder Woman stopped him no she's mine she flew up and punched the woman down as she grabbed her spear she threw it down catching the woman's cape and nailed her on the wall Wonder Woman flew down pulled the spear to the right and let it knock the woman out Naruto and Supergirl warehouse Naruto dropped on a gargoyle as he stared at the counterfeit money being made his Supergirl floated above outside he saw 10 armed men before jumping behind 3 and took them out quickly he jumped up to another gargoyle before seeing the 7 men run over dropping a smoke bomb Naruto quickly took out 5 before smashing the last 2 men together he saw a man with a western-themed costume as a blonde-haired girl dressed in black holding a silver star staff flew beside him Supergirl flew through the window and punched the girl through the wall as Naruto threw the man away before lighting the building on fire after getting everyone out Superman and Lex Metropolis Superman and Lex stopped in front of a penthouse before Lex spoke up Ultram Ma. And bring your arrogant ass out here or we'll come in and make you come out. The doors opened, showing a muscular Jimmy walking out. The boss ain't here, leave an appointment with our secretary and leave our airspace. Lex just stared at Jimmy before speaking. Make me. Jimmy flew up as Lex turned to Superman. Take care of his help. Superman dashed in front of Jimmy and easily caught his punch. I don't want to hurt you, Jimmy, he said before dodging another punch and applied a choke hold on Jimmy. Lex reached for Jimmy watch and activated a sonar. Ultraman flew to them and glared, get your hands off my boy. Lex snorted before speaking, you got bigger problems. Lex flew over and punched Ultraman several times before Ultraman punched him down to a rooftop. Superman saw Lex pull a blue kryptonite shard out of his gauntlet and punched Ultraman away in his weakened state and then down to the street before calling the police. Later, White House. Naruto stared, jaw dropped. His Slade with an eye patch over his left eye in a suit talked to Lex about having the crime syndicate free. What the hell? Cage asked as Superman raised a hand. No, I know we're in a different universe here, but the Slade in our world just tree to kill half of it with an army of mutated bad people. I don't give a crap that he's president here. Besides, he's this America's president, not ours. Slade continued, saying no one would prosecute them or testify against them. We can put a stop to them, Superman said before Slade looked at him. You mean kill them? Superman shook his head. No, we don't do that. His daughter, a red-headed young woman, walked in as Naruto walked out with Supergirl following. Sorry, just can't stand politics, Naruto said before the others followed after them as Jean talked to Rose. Later, Earth 1 Watchtower. Snake ate a donut bef or helping Batwoman by handing her wire cutters as she cut some wires under a computer. Intruder alert. They both dropped what they were doing and dashed to see Batman in a loader robot suit fighting Superwoman and her men. Everyone get in here now. Nightwing, Robin, Batgirl, Cheetah and Kurama ran in to help fight off Superwoman. She grabbed Nightwing and Batwoman as they jumped to her and threw them away before turning to see Kurama. Menma. Kurama narrowed his eyes